What can the heavy hitters do up front? They can do some massive damage. Oh my, that's 5 hits out of 6 rolls. Wow, wow, wow. This is Axis and Allies on the 2 or Less channel. Today we are playing E40 with our houseful build time, which means things take longer to get built throughout the progress of the war. It's video number 2 in this series. Turns number 1 to 5 were done in the first video, and we're going from turn 6 onwards from here. Probably this will be the last video in this series, I suspect. We are also switching our allegiances, should I say? Not really, but we haven't got an allegiance to any particular side in it. But we've been following the fortunes of Italy thus far, and we're going to be changing over to following the fortunes of Germany. Reason being, Italy have had their botties spanked by the Brits in the Mediterranean, and the French have been involved in that too. And so Italy's job here that we were using to try to explain the houseful to you isn't proving to be very much fun as a following side. While they will hang on in North Africa for a little while longer and probably hang on to their home states, maybe to the end of the game, it's hard work just to follow them with the few dice rolls. It's much more fun to be looking at Germany, who've been having a wonderful time throughout this game. They have had some monster dice rolls, moving themselves in towards the Soviet capital, and they are knocking on the doorsteps of Russia itself now. Could be there in 1 or even 2 turns. They're going to be fun to watch, and that's the side we're going to be following for the rest of this game, we think. There is a great plan they've got ahead of themselves for economically starving the Soviet Union, as well as having a bash at the Brits and the Americans over in the Atlantic and trying to maybe force them to concede the game before it gets extremely tedious. So, before we get going, may I mention that I make these videos in aid of a charity called Cure Parkinson's. You can guess what they're trying to do. There's a link to them below this video, one in the About section on the channel page. If you happen to have a spare $1, euro, yen, yak, or an IPC you could send to them, I am sure that they would appreciate it. Let's go to the other side of the camera and I'll show you part of Germany's cunning plan. Germany's cunning plan coming into fruition. They got quite a lot of money to spend this turn because of all their bonuses they're getting and the invasion they've made into Mother Russia. They're getting themselves 9 infantry units. They're all going to be going into the Russian border factories straight away, and they'll be mobilised this turn, plus a couple of submarines that will go into Sea Zone 113, which is sort of safely tucked away enough, we think. They're buying themselves, getting them in the pipe anyway, 3 destroyers. They're in the pipe, they're coming to mobilisation on next turn, and an air base. That air base is quite important and part of this integral plan. With all that money they spent there, they're also paying off all the factory damage to their 2 factories that have been hit in the last couple of turns, and they've got themselves 10 IPCs left over from that massive buy to pay for these 3 artillery units coming online this turn. Having a look at the board and seeing where it's going to work out for them, or they hope will work out for them. We've got these tanks in the Caucasus here. Are going to blitz through Kazakhstan into Samara, knocking on the door of Novosibirsk. Novosibirsk supplies the Soviets with 9 IPCs bonus. If we can get in there, we're going to be crushing them economically as well as militarily. Obviously, these guys in Volgograd can come back in and try to take these tanks out, but leaving Volgograd itself will be left vulnerable. So if we put these tanks in here into Tambov, that also threatens Novosibirsk. And tripling up on it, this tank here and this artillery in Archangel going to come through into Vologda and also threaten Novosibirsk. It's going to get the Soviets looking every which way but loose. That's the cunning plan for that side of the board. Over on the western side of Europe, these planes here, these 4 in Greater Southern Germany, are going to come down. There's enough range, 1, 2, 3, to hit this French fleet in here, bomb that, and land themselves back into southern France. And the air base that we purchased for next turns will come online will go into Normandy, Bordeaux. So all this air wing can land in Normandy, Bordeaux and protect C-Zone 105 and C-Zone 110, because connected by the similar borders there, and hopefully dissuade any kind of invasion from the Allied forces. Germany looking really strong this time. So all this factory damage here and here will disappear, and I will get everything up on the board and flag up these battles for you to see in a couple of minutes' time. Okay, quick amendment to the last part of it. Before we get going with this battle down here in the Med, we've got these bombers here in Germany. There's 3 big bombers that could come across, and there's some tanks that could possibly hit the UK and their factories here. The reason why we're not using these bombers here, we want to save this up for the one big battle and try to smash any kind of British fleet or even an American fleet should it come around in the next couple of turns. That we're preserving our bombers, holding them back rather than losing them, or putting them at risk at least. So anyway, here's a battle down here. 2 tanks, 2 fighters versus a cruiser and a destroyer. We won't bother putting it up onto the battle board. We've got our dice there that can effectively do that for us. We have 2 tanks and 2 fighters, 4s and 3s. Black's the highest register. And they've just absolutely smashed those 2 boats in there. 4 hits out of 4. Wow. So what can the French do in reply with their La Marseillaise playing in the background? They score 1 hit, so Germany are going to lose one of the fighters from here, from that 1 hit, and these 2 French boats are lost and gone, mon ami. We'll get one of these battles up here done. These 2 tanks here have just driven through Kazakhstan on a blitz into Samara. We've got these tanks here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 tanks. Oh, my fat fingers. 4 tanks at 3 versus 1 little lonely mech at 2. So, same as before then. No need to start shuffling the board around too much. We have 4 at 3. And they've scored 3 hits. Versus that 1 mech at 2 for the Soviet defence, who doesn't do anything at all. So that is a done deal. And right up north, whilst we get rid of that unit, we have got 1 tank at 3 and an artillery at 2 versus an infantry at 2. So for Germany, a tank at 3 and an artillery at 2s. They've both missed. Can the Soviet brave soldier do anything himself? He can't. It goes to the second round. Again, 2 and a 3, and again they both miss. Come on, you softs. And everyone's rolling 4s then. Let's change dice. Let's just do different dice that don't roll 4s at the moment. And again, they've missed. Oh, no, the tank's hit, sorry. The German tank has hit on a 3, and the Soviet now can defend on a 2 or not as the case may be. So, a little bit confusing with too many dice getting thrown around. That battle's done. That guy is lost. So Germany have now taken another IPC here in Tambov, another one in Vologda to go with the 2 they've picked up here in Kazakhstan and Samara. Let me tidy everything back up, and I'll see you when we start doing the non-com moves too. Okay, after that battle in the Mediterranean, these were the 3 surviving planes that have dropped themselves into southern France, and the rest of the area has gone into Normandy border, as I said, to protect this English, or this coast, from the English Allied invasion, and ahead of getting that air base online next turn. We're going to be taking these 3 guys that are in France. They're going to drop into southern France to help support the Italians, and the Italians definitely need that help there. We're going to take these 3 mechanised infantry. They've been rolling around this place quite a bit, providing cover into Western Germany, into Denmark, to give that some full support. And these 3 guys have moved from Western Germany into Holland and Belgium. Not sure the entire numbers. I have to count it up later on and make sure I get that correct. We do have a bit of an oops though, and I'm cheating nobody but myself. When I was looking at moving units forward into Russia, and they're just going to be everyone's coming forward, I realised I didn't flag up Smolensk. And of course these guys in Belarus would have walked into Smolensk. So, well, there was nobody in there in the first place. It's a mistake by me, but a mistake I'm willing to live with. So I shall get everybody there moving forward later on. And we'll also be getting all these units online. All these guys into Soviet factories, these 2 guys into 113, and these artillery are going to be coming down as well. Possibly exchanging some of these heavy hitting units for the ones in Russia, and putting some of these down into Germany itself to protect its home bases, and paying for it with those 10 IPCs that are there. So I will see you when we decide what the Soviets are going to do, if they decide to do anything. I can't actually see Soviets hitting back hard. If they do, I'll get back to you then, but I might just be playing this whole round out and getting back to you on Germany's turn on turn number 7, but we'll see what happens. We got to the end of turn number 6 now, and not a lot has happened that required dice rolling to be shown, but in terms of planning, it's been quite a difficult round here. Soviets did try to find a way of attacking these tanks in Tambov or Samara. Every time they thought of something, there was a good argument against not doing it because they'd be leaving their Stalingrad factory vulnerable, or even their Mother Russia itself vulnerable. So Soviets are going to be playing that rope-a-dope move and just hanging on for dear life. And there are 20 units up here in Moscow, so I think it's not going to be a one roll steamroller for the Germans to get into Russia, but I think balance of probabilities, they are the ones that are in front at this stage. The Brits had a pop here against the Italians in Tobruk, couldn't finish off the job, didn't want to lose any of their expensive aircraft. The French had to go attacking the Italians, they couldn't finish the job off, didn't want to lose their one fighter, although quite wired, I don't know. But Italians have to bulk themselves up in their southern European states here. They're looking strong enough now to withhold this force of Germans on their own. We would suspect sort of Germans. This lot of Americans here in Morocco. Get me worms wrong today. They're all piled up here. They've got a lot of navies piled up as well that can ship them either north or eastwards. We'll see which way the Americans want to go. And plenty of guys here building up now from their factories over in the States. Brits as well, they're helping out tremendously. Their naval building campaign is working out. They've got a lot of protection and a few bits of transport. And the Americans, well, they bombed German factories. One in Western Germany and one in the Normandy, Bordeaux. That's going to be quite expensive to get both of those back online. And the Brits took their bombers over and took out the main units of the fleet here in 113, a cruiser and a transport vessel. So Germany wouldn't have wanted to lose them. They got 3 destroyers coming online in turn number 7. They were probably going to be taking their submarines down through to Normandy, Bordeaux, and getting some kind of protection here. But that cruiser wasn't central to the plan, but more annoying for the Germans. So I think turn number 7 is going to be a massive turn. I suspect that the Allied invasion has been telegraphed like a pole, and it's going to be good fun to roll that one out. I will see you there. Okay, we are on turn number 7 with Germany, the big battle round. I'm looking forward to this. Germany are buying themselves in preparation, 10 infantry. Whether they go in factories east or west in this turn, we do not know. We'll see how the battles work out for us. And they get themselves 3 fighters that will come online next turn. They've got some money here to pay off these 3 destroyers that will go into probably the sea zone 105, is it, outside of Normandy, Bordeaux, and this one air base that go into Normandy, Bordeaux, we think. And they've got some money allocated to pay off the factory damage that the Americans did to them very unsportingly last turn. The 2 massive battles that are going to take place, perhaps 1 turn earlier than is optimum, but it's a risk I'm willing to take. We've got this tank here that's in Samara. It's going to roll through Novosibirsk and Urals, taking the IPCs and the bonus away from those Soviets. They're going to economically starve the country out of the game, we think. But everything marked up with these battle markers that I use are actually ones that are going to move in onto Russia itself. There's 20 Soviet units in there, and I've got the numbers written down for the Germans moving in. I shall call those out later on when we get up onto the battle board. The second battle is going to take place. We've got 4 submarines up here. They can come through 1, 2, 3 and get into sea zone 109 where the Brits are. And they've got quite a few cruisers and destroyers in there. But with this air wing as well, Germany outscore Britain just about, including the 3 that can scramble. I'll get up on the board and I will see you there. Okay, this is the battle for Sea Zone 109. Slight miscalculation by me beforehand. I was crediting Germany with 1 extra fighter plane that could get into the battle. It's actually in southern France. It can't reach Sea Zone 109. It's because everything was a bit crammed together. It does mean that Germany not only have that one fighter plane less, it doesn't boost up the other tactical bomber to that high number. So the battling is actually a little bit tighter than we first thought. Germany have got 30 hit points versus the UK's 31 hit points, counting 4s, 3s and 2s, etc. My odd way of roughly guessing where we're going to be in this battle. It may mean that this might be a skirmish attack by Germany, getting in there first and then doing the damage and coming back again if it's not successful or wholly successful. So to that end, Germany are going to roll in there 4 submarines, all at 2s first, seeing what they can do against this British fleet. And they've just scored 2 hits. That's a good start. We'll take 2 buttons off of there. 1, 2. And then they're going to roll in with their massive air wing. They have got 1, 2, 3 of the regular bombers. Plus they have 1 tactical can go in at 4. 1 tactical will go in at 3. And a fighter will go in at 3. So 4s and 3s. Good roll, please. And it's pretty good. There's got 3 hits out of that. There's the 4s, there's the 3s. So that's all the destroyers. I think they would probably take 2 destroyers out of the Brits' numbers and 1 of the cruisers, I should suspect, as well, because they obviously want to be able to see the submarines as protection. I'm guessing that's the way that the Brits would be best for them to do that, so they can still hit the submarines from the air with their numbers, should it go into round number 2, but we'll see what happens. The Brits themselves, their reply roll will be 1, 2, 3 fighters, all rolling in at 3. They have fighters rolling at 4, and they got 3 cruisers rolling in at 3 as well. So get the right coloured dice, and we'll be happy. So we got 4s and 3s. Oh, I'm all over the place today. 4s and 3s. What can we do? And 1 of the fighters has hit, and 2 of the cruisers have scored hits. That's 3 off of Germany. They can take them all those 3 hits on their submarines. They goes under, and there is now 5 destroyers left for the Brits. What can they do? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dice in my hand, all going in at 2s. And they can score 2 more hits as well. That's probably going to end the attack for Germany, I'd imagine. They take 1 off the submarine because they've got the destroyer, and 1 off that fighter plane. I think the damage has been done. We said it might be a skirmish, and I think obviously Germany aren't going to want to lose their expensive bombers and tacticals because of the time taken to get them back online again, etc. And they are buying, is it 3 or 4 fighters for next turn, Germany? They're already in the pipeline. So that's going to be it for this battle. These will go back in the Sea Zone 109. Damage has been done. I think it's best if Germany pull back at this stage, having not quite their tail between their legs, but the miscalculation smarts slightly. Okay, hold on to your vodka-flavoured socks, because this is the big one. This is the battle for Moscow. Germany have got themselves 6 tanks to get in there. They've got 9 artillery and 7 infantry, whether it's mech or whatever, so everything can roll in at 2s when they're running in along the ground. They're facing 21 Soviet units, so this is going to be quite important. This first roll for Germany with its 6 tanks, all rolling in at 3s. What can the heavy hitters do up front? They can do some massive damage. Oh my, that's 5 hits out of 6 rolls. Wow. That's going to really hurt the Soviets there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, taken off 1 stack straight away. Ouch. Now, we got the 9 plus 7 is 16. I've got 12 dice in total. So before after this, all at 2s. And again, it's pretty good hitting. 1, 2, 3, 4 hits. Yep, 4 hits. Plus we got 4 more dice that we can roll. Moscow could fall a bit easier than we were first thinking. So we'll take 3 and 4. These are all infantry, all getting lost by the Sovs. Plus the other 4 dice to roll. And no more hits, thankfully, as far as the Soviets are concerned. They have 21 dice in total at the start. So as we should roll 11 straight away, plus 10 more on the second roll. All going in at twos. And that's not a good roll. I can just see 2 hits here. 1, 2 hits. That's 2 off the Germans. We take 2 infantry back behind the line. And now they've got 10 dice to roll and hope they can do something a little bit better this time round. Otherwise, I think Moscow could fall far too easily. 1, 2, 3. Right, it's just about par, but I think they would want more than that. Germany will lose 1, 2, 3. That is the end of round number 1 in the battle. There is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 units gone from there as far as I can quickly count up without getting my hands too much in the way. And we go on to round 2 of the battle, because for sure Germany are going to be pushing this one forward as fast as they can. They have got their 6 tanks going in there, all rolling in at 3s, and quite good this time. They got two hits out of the possible 6. That's 2 more from the Soviet Union forces. Then they will have 9 artillery plus 2, which is 11 dice, all going in at 2s. They can't quite finish with the Soviets in a second roll, but they could be devastatingly close. And it is close. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more units are lost by the Sovs. Wow. So that's 5 dice gone from there. We have left in this bin 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We've got 12 dice, all at 2s, for the Soviets to try to defend the glory of their homeland, of Mother Russia, of Moscow itself. That's off the board. We roll it again. Again, it's a 6, doesn't count. 1, 2, just the 3 hits off of Germany. Soviets are going to be hanging their head in shame. I'm looking desperately to see if I can see any more hits, but I can't. 1, 2, 3. That's the first of the artillery gone, but there's not much left now for the Soviets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dice is all they're going to be getting. I think Germany are going to win this hands down, or even Hans Lander, if you know the movie. Great movie, that one. 6 dice, all going in at 3s for the tanks, and they've just scored another 4 hits there. The Soviets are just in shame, an absolute shameful mess now. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 for their artillery. Going to pound this one poor guy. Ivan the Terrible is no longer, only just the 1 hit actually, but that's all they needed to do. And so Soviets' reply against Germany is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dice. And we say goodbye to the Soviets almost in this game. And now they get some hits. 3 hits off of the Russian forces, off of the German forces. Get me worms right. Those 3 go from there. That guy goes from there. Moscow has fallen. Wow, wow, wow. If it wasn't slightly bad for the Germans, my miscalculation with that extra plane for that battle over there, it's been made up for by those tremendous rolls there. Germany had, I would say, overrolls consistently in this battle versus the Soviet Union, which is why they've got in there fairly easily. All that's left for the Soviets now is these small enclave guys in Volgograd or in the Stalingrad factory. It's not going to last much longer. They're going to have to hope that the coalition, the Allied forces of Britain and America, plus whatever this small amount of France can do, gets back in there and tries to relieve them soon. But I think Germany are looking to be running away with this battle. Okay, we've reset Germany back into Mother Russia. They look glorious now over on the eastern side of the map. Germany well in control of this game. They are producing now almost the same number of IPCs as America and Britain combined. This has already been wrapped around once, past that 40, and back up that way, up to here again. They're making 90 IPCs, the Germans, with their bonuses. If they get Novgorod, 95. If they come down into these oil states, they'll be getting even more IPCs, the Germans. And whilst the Allied forces are producing a similar amount of IPCs, obviously, with America coming over from the Atlantic to get over to here, it's a much harder job for them to attack than for the Germans to defend. And to that end, we were thinking about really throwing in the towel, but we can't throw in the towel just yet. We can't sue for peace this early in the war. Let's see what the Allied forces can do. Germany put their 3 destroyers up here in the Leningrad factory, rather than putting them down here in Norway Bordeaux, even though we paid the factory damage off from there for that reason. Because we thought, well, if we build them down here, they're slightly vulnerable to the American fleet and the British fleet, and there's American and British bombers here. Let's just keep the advantages there whilst we can. It might take a couple of turns longer to get them down into the action, but they're a little bit safer up there. Sort of safer. But the Americans and the Brits have got to do something. They cannot just sit back and let this carry on. So the plan has been agreed between Eisenhower and Churchill. They are going to be hitting this Normandy-Bordeaux coast. Yes, there's a massive wing here, and there's a lot of troops in here, but the planes that were moved from southern France by the Germans invites a hit into southern France from the American forces down here. But it's one step further on the conveyor belt, and they haven't got time to make it. They're really hoping for a bit of a Hail Mary play. Can they get in and do enough economic damage? Because if they can kill all these expensive aircraft early on, it's going to put Germany on the back foot. And if the Brits can follow up, and there's lots of ifs, if the Brits can follow up and start smashing factories and causing more economic damage, similar to how the Germans took out the Soviets, it's the only way forward for them. I don't think it's viable for the Americans to continue a building campaign and a conveyor belt system, because by the time they get all their ducks in line, Germany will be overrunning the places with troops. So I'm going to be moving this Soviet submarine down to block off these destroyers on the Soviet turn, and then we'll get the American turn up on the board. Probably going to be buying some more bombers to try and get some heavy damage and some more transport, and moving this fleet down here off of Gibraltar up into Sea Zone 105, I think it is, off of Normandy Bordeaux, and we roll some dice then. Okay, these are the purchases for the American forces. These guys here will be paid off with this amount of money at the end of the turn, so we kept that money back. This lot will get put into the spill stage 1, and these guys will be mobilised, taking care of that lot of money. That's just tied up the loose ends. Now, the attack. It's not quite the... it's still a Hail Mary, but it's not quite the... let me just balance this camera. The disadvantage that I was kind of thinking that the Americans would be at. They're actually going to be scoring with 38 points to hit versus 44 from the Germans. So they're 6 points down, but they would have the advantage of a bombardment from the coast. But the Germans have got some anti-aircraft guns, which may just spoil the whole party. The reason why Germany didn't scramble into that sea zone is if they scrambled one fighter or one tactical into that sea zone, it would only get one hit and then potentially would be lost anyway. Whereas at least if it's going to be on the defending land, it can fire again and again. And whereas these destroyers and cruisers get just one shot. That's why the Germans decided not to use their scramble ability with their airbase that they bought. It might seem like a waste of time buying it now, maybe, but the Germany are in front. I can't complain. Let's do the bombardment first. We've got a 4 and a 3, black dice being the highest register for the American assault, starting to roll their forces in. And they both missed, even though they hit the anti-aircraft guns. Let's move those back into the sea zone up north. Just in there, so you don't roll again. We now get 2 rolls from the anti-aircraft gun. They've got 2 guns there. It's a maximum of 6, and we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 planes to shoot at. So as we can roll 5 dice all at once, and score a hit. Ooh, one of the American planes goes down straight away. We'll take it off the fighter, we think. Let me just pause a second because I just heard the funny lady come back indoors. One moment. Okay, I'm back. Things take longer than expected. Isn't it annoying when real life gets in the way of our little playtimes? So, this is the American fighter that was lost to the anti-aircraft gun, if I remember from about an hour ago. We've got this anti-aircraft gun I can put into the German battle line to be used as casualties, although I wouldn't mind keeping hold of them because they've been quite lucky so far, and lucky's no reason to keep a unit, but I just feel lucky. We've got these 3 American bombers going in at 4 over at this end, plus 1 fighter at 3. What can it do to start off this second part of the battle? They can score 2 hits. A 4 and a 3 has hit, so we can lose 2 German units thus far. I'll just put a dice up to remind us that it's 2 hits. 1 second. And then we have got 10 ground units. We've got 5 infantry and 5 artillery. Let's get that out of the way. I was going to confuse us. Use black dice for infantry, red dice for artilleries, because we can do, and that's pretty good hitting. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hits off of Germany, plus the 2 from before. That's 7 hits off of Germany. I'm gonna take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 from the anti-aircraft. Wanted to keep them, but we can't. And 2 more infantry over there. That is the 7 accounted for. Then, in reply, what can Germany do to try to preserve its Atlantic wall? They have 1 fighter at 4, and they have 4 tactical bombers going in at 3s up front. And that is massive. Wow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hits out of 5 rolls. Oof, ouch, ouch, says the Americans. Spectacular bit of dive bombing by the Stukas. And we now have the 3 bombers that are also here on the end of that battle line. They're going in at ones. And they score a hit as well. Ooh. And, well, Germany are going to be rubbing their hands now. They've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 dice to be able to be rolled at 2s. Yeah, we're going to do 10 dice first, and then 3 more should we need them. And we may do. We might not do, actually. 1, 2, 3 more hits off of the Americans there. So that's 3. Plus there's 3 more dice. And as you may remember, there's only 10 ground units here. Oh, my fat fingers today. So 3 more dice. Can we finish off this ground invasion and, well, perhaps even win the war? And there's the 1 hit that they need at 2. So that is 10 units gone from here. That is all this American ground invasion gone. There's no point taking it on the planes. That is the end of that invasion. Germany have repelled it. The Atlantic wall has held strong. These units, which is infantry 4, 5, 6, plus a couple of artillery, are going to go back into Normandy, Bordeaux. The planes are going to land back in there. There's a fighter, 4 TACs and 3 bombers, all going to sit in there. Dare Britain have a go with just 3 boats to land units with, a couple of bombers, yes, and a whole host of fighters. They could have a go at the Germans there. Let me have a really good think about this before I decide whether the Brits are going to follow up into Normandy, Bordeaux, or maybe try Norway. Let me think before we get too confused. Okay, we are on the British turn. Let's just go back 1 step to the end of the American turn. The Germans have parked all their planes And their infantry artillery in Normandy, Bordeaux, looking reasonably strong there. America brought this one carrier around from the coast of Morocco into this seadown off of Normandy, Bordeaux to catch that one plane. And they've brought some reinforcements across the Atlantic into Morocco, and they've got some guys in the pipeline ready to come through on the next turn. The Brits, they did have a wobble. There was this idea, do we Welsh on that Churchill-Eisenhower agreement to keep on hitting this coast and see if we can get some sort of ingress into there. And I think, well, we've got to go for it at some point in time. Germany getting far too strong. There's 2 bombers, 5 fighters, and there's 3 transport vessels can bring 6 units over and give the UK a fighting chance of taking Normandy, Bordeaux, and maybe getting enough units to hang on for a little while. If they get all these planes damaged, it's going to be that's the only sort of target that the Brits are really going to have. And a successful operation there will change the course of this series, because if Britain are successful, we may get a 3rd video out of it. If they're unsuccessful, we may have to call the battle done and done just then. Britain are also going to be attacking down here in Tobruk. These ground units will come through and try to take these 2 artilleries out. But these planes are going to have to fly themselves in reverse and get themselves over to northern Persia. Because of this threat from the Caucasus, we don't want Germany taking all the oil states as well away from us. Their purchase is the UK. A couple of transport, infantry, some artillery for next turn, and some strategic bombers for next turn, and a couple of submarines. You need to get some fish in the water because there's only one Soviet submarine protecting 112, and these 3 destroyers might start popping themselves out and harassing whatever's going to be fleet-wise in the seas around the UK, whether it be Allied British or Allied American. So let me get the battle in Tobruk up on the board first, and then we'll do the big one, Normandy, Bordeaux, second. This is the battle for Tobruk, featuring 1 Matilda from the Brits, 1 of their 25-pounder guns and 1 infantry, versus 2 Cannoni da 75-32 Italian artilleries. I don't know if Cannoni da is the correct pronunciation. Doesn't sound very Italian to me, but there you go. I'm not Italian myself. We have 1 tank and infantry artillery, 3s and 2s. What can the Brits do? They can take out the 2 Italians. They're gone. 2 hits out of that. That's no problem at all. What the Italians do in return with their 2 artilleries? They score 1 hit, so 1 of the Brits goes as well. That is the end of the battle in Tobruk, and I'll get the one in Normandy, Bordeaux up and running in a second. Okay, this is the battle for Normandy, Bordeaux, part et deux, and we have 2 British cruisers. There's 2 British cruisers rolling in at 3s. And they got 1 hit off with Germany, so we'll put a 1 marker down to remind us. We have got 2 British bombers at 4 and 5 fighters at 3s. 4s and 3s. Let's see what we can do here. And we have got 3 hits. 1, 2, 3 hits off of German forces. That's going to go up to a 4 now. And then we've got the ground units running in. We can do what we did before, actually. You can do 3 black dice for infantry, 3 red dice for the artillery. What can the Brits do on this ground version of the invasion? They can score 2 more hits. That is those 2 dice there. That goes up to a 6. Rolled over nicely. And we've got 6 units from Germany. They're all taken out straight away on that first roll. This could actually work, this plan. Let's see what Germany can do in reply before we cast full judgment. We have 1 fighter, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4 tacticals. Yep, 4 tacticals, 4s and 3s. And they've scored 3 hits. The tacticals are ones that have done all the damage there. That's 3 off the Brits straight away. We move the infantry behind the line. We now have a roll from the 3 bombists, all defending at 1s. All missing. And there are the 8 units. We have 6 infantry and 2 artillery, although the infantry is going to be gone at the end of this round. All at 2s. What can they do? They can score quite heavily. 4 hits done there. Ooh, ouch. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's 1, 2, 3 of the infantry. And they're going to have to lose a plane, the Brits, I'm afraid. this could stymie their attack slightly because they've now got no ground units to make the invasion. But okay, they were absorption. I hate to sort of use that other word, cannon fodder, but that's exactly what they were there to do. And so it's now, can the Brits get a good roll against the Germans and try to hit this air wing? It's very important, this. We have 2 bombers at 4, and we now have just the 4 fighters at 3, dropping the dice all over the place. What can they do? That's a disaster for the Brits. It's just the 1 bomber at 4 that scored a hit, and they can absorb that, the Germans, on that 1 artillery unit. So, yeah, this is depressing for the Allied. 1 fighter, 4 tactical bombers for Germany, 4s and 3s, and they have just 1, 2, 3, 4 hits. They smashed all the fighters for the Brits out of this game. They have 3 bombers at 1s, trying to bomb the other planes somehow. And they've managed to bomb one of the bombers with their bombist. And they've got the artillery unit left, rather 2 artillery units left for Germany, and they managed to miss. So at the end of that battle, all that Britain have got left here to fly back home to Blighty, because they're not going to waste time continuing this attack, is that 1 bomber. That's going to go back up north, up to Blighty, and sit up in there and fall over drunkenly. These are going to go back into Normandy Bordeaux, the fighter and the artillery, and I'm going to need a very good think about whether we continue with this series. 1 second. Okay, we got to the end of turn number 7. Germany have reset themselves back into Normandy Bordeaux, and the Brits have got their units online in the UK. Not looking too bad for supporting themselves, but not really good for an invasion. And they couldn't get their planes over from Alexandria into northern Persia, because I was counting them flying across a pro-Axis area, which they cannot do. That will happen next turn, presumably, if it's going to last that long. But I've come to the decision about this series itself. I think there's no point in showing lots of shilly-shallying around and tinkering and tweaking with builds, etc. At this stage. I do not think that the Allied can win this game from here. I think Germany are far too strong. By the time these units sweep down and support Italy, or sweep down into the oil states and start threatening Africa, it will be about the time when there's enough of an Allied build to try to do a comeback for it. So what we're going to do is I'm going to fast forward through a few turns without videoing anything, just to see how strong that these Allied forces can look on the coast of Germany, and how strong Germany's defences are going to be against that. And depending on what happens there, I may be saying to you, let's have a look at video number 3, because we're going to start off again trying to crack this very hard European nut. Or that's it, we're calling it now. I've got a feeling it's going to be the latter rather than the former. I'll see you in a couple of seconds though. Okay, I am ready to call this done and done now. We got through to turn number 11. We finished off turn 10. We're halfway through turn 11, and Germany, well, they're just running away with it. They have smashed the British and American conglomeration fleet in 109. There was some transports and some defending destroyers in there, and some cruisers and destroyers from the Brits, but yeah, they haven't lasted long enough. And Germany themselves, well, they've run themselves down through Soviet Union. They've gone into the oil states now, and they're into North Africa, or on the doorstep of North Africa at least. The Brits, they're trying to run away, they're trying to hide their aircraft carrier anywhere they can. America have got a limping battleship back home, and only a couple of destroyers to try to rebuild their invasion force. But it's going to be too little, too late. And that's been really part of the thinking that's involved in this. Let me just show you something. With Germany, 1 second, up here, they've got their invasion fleet underway now. They've got themselves some transport ships and some cruisers to try to help defend them, plus the remnants of their main battle fleet, which had a wonderful time in the Atlantic. But coming along with that, They've got some more transport ships in the offing. They've got some bombers on the way. They've got these units will come on at the end of this turn number 11. And they've also got one big battleship for turn number 11 as well. They've anticipated the purchase a lot better than the Allied forces have done. Even though, say for America, their purchases are much easier to manage, the UK's are the hardest to manage. They've got 3 fighters here ready to come on the board end of this turn and a destroyer. They really wanted those on the previous turn to defend against this massive attack. But the Brits have the hardest job with this build time house rule, because you have to think 2 steps ahead. Anticipating your losses and knowing when to pull out of battles is very important. But the UK are the ones that are caught between the devil and the deep blue sea. Do they buy attacking and invasion units, or do they buy defending units? Do they defend in the air? Do they defend in the sea? What are they going to lose this time round, or what are they going to lose next time round, more importantly? So, one second. So, this house rule is hard for the Brits and very interesting for the Brits to play. It's not so different for the Americans, because they tend to be buying invasion fleets for most of their games, whether they're playing really Europe or Pacific or global. They're going to be invading. So you're having an invasion kind of build. Germany tend to have an aggressive build most of the time, but I think I did anticipate the correct purchases for them more than I did for the UK, and I was more willing with Germany to pull back from an attack when it looked like they weren't going to perhaps be fully successful, and rather than taking massive losses and hoping you'll get a good dice roll, and they got some great dice rolls throughout this game. I think I was more willing with them just to back off and just hold back on and focus my attacks into 2 or 3 big attacks rather than 4 or 5 smaller attacks. And that did play dividends for Germany's strategy this time round. I've played a 1.5 test plays through for this game, and this was the first really full playthrough, going right way through to who's going to win this game, and I'm going to finish it off myself. But that is it now. There'll be a link to this build time house rule on the BGG site in the Europe 40 section, and if you want to give it a go, then please, I'm sure you're going to enjoy it. So that's it. Thank you very much for watching. Until next time, be cool.